Steaks in
Rucham Aboim B'Shem Egin I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yakov Zev Smith Shlita on the topic of mistakes in the Yom Tov Davening. Whoever would like to have the great schus of sponsoring a shir, call Egin Shir Torah 718-851-8651.
The concept of mistakes in halach and tefillah is common. It comes up in Shachris, Musaf, Mincha. Either a person said the wrong Shemoneh Esrei or he left something out. And this year we have Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos that makes it a little more complicated. We have Avatoi Dienu. And if you wonder how things happen, we had a very shyless that people daven Musaf instead of Shachris. So I stopped asking how things happen. Things happen. What was he thinking? The answer is not thinking. And before if someone comes to you, Milah Shemoneh Esrei, and he's motioning that he has a shayla, you had better know what the answer is. I heard this from Machashav Rav Barapak. He said once it was late at night and his doorbell rang. He goes, "Who's there?" And he heard, "Who's there?" "No, So he wasn't sure what to do. Decided to be Ma'aseh Nefesh. He buzzed the fellow in, and the person with 2 feet together hopped up his steps. He was davening in Shemoneh Shabbos. He had a shayla what to do, so he hopped from Shemoneh Shabbos with his feet together to the Rav up the steps. So obviously, if someone asks you a shayla in Milah Shemoneh Esrei, you have to know what to do. What I really think we have to try to focus on today, Bez Hashem, we always like to find one yesod to give clarity. How do you define that word mistake? You made a mistake in Shemoneh Esrei. You have to daven over. That's the assumption. How do you accurately define la'alacha the word mistake? And I'll explain. The most obvious mistake is if you left out what we'll call the haskara. Lamashal, on a chol hamoyed, shachris, mincha, or ma'ariv, you forgot to say yalav v'yavai. So you're missing the haskara. For sure, you're not yoitza because you didn't say the Yom Tov. That's pashut. Let's put that lamaisa for us. The first day of Yom Tov Pesach this year is Shabbos. You davened the beautiful Yom Tov Shemoneh Esrei, but you left out Shabbos. You forgot that it was Shabbos. That's a very serious mistake. You did not say the Haskara. Rather, you did not mention Shabbos. It's only a few words, but he doesn't talk that way. A person could daven a beautiful, long Musaf Rosh Hashanah. If you left out one word, HaMelech, instead of Akel HaKadosh, he said HaMelech HaKadosh, he said Akel HaKadosh, he's not Yoitza. So the first possibility is he left out the Askara. The second possibility is he left out part of the Askara, Lamashal. He said the Yom Tov Davening, he said Yalav V'Yavai, he skipped Vatitein Lanu. So he didn't say Vatitein Lanu, Chag HaMatzos, but he said Yalav V'Yavai, he said Mekadosh Yisrael V'Azmanim. That already we could clear. He mentioned Yom Tov, but he left out part of it. Maybe you have to have every time. Maybe it's enough just mentioning the Yom Tov. And the third category we're going to call sheker. Now the truth is, Leinech Shlu Yisrael, and our Pam once told us, the Chazon Ish couldn't say the word sheker because it was nivel peh. But we don't mean sheker in lying. We mean sheker, he said the wrong thing. Lamashal. This is a true story. Someone asked me once, he davened Ma'ariv, and he said Yalav V'Yavai in the middle of the month. So I asked him, why'd you do that? Because he came to shul, and the Gabbai clapped ice, banged before Shemoneh Esrei. And he wasn't thinking too much, So he gave Chazan bang, so he said Yalav V'Yavai. Really it was December 4th or 5th, and he's supposed to add the same Talamat Levracha. So he ended up saying Yalav V'Yavai in the middle of the month. Now, he didn't miss the Askara, because you're not supposed to say an Askara. But that's what's called Sheker. And this could be Negeya Grada, either Rosh Chodesh Iyar or Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. Both come after Yom Tov. It's quite common after a week of saying Yalav V'Yavai on Pesach. You come Rosh Chodesh Iyar and you say Yalav V'Yavai, but you say Chag HaMatzos. So that you're missing the right Askara, number one, but it's also Sheker. So this is our agenda today. So we're going to try to do, since we have a lot to discuss, we're going to go straight to the Shailas Lamaisa. We're going to try to organize it in a orderly fashion and try to make each Shaila real, and then hopefully we'll see when is it a mistake and when is not ma'akiv? We'll start with some Shabbos shaylas because Zachar Shem Shabbos the Kachay. Imagine a regular Shabbos. Yesterday, someone davened a weekday Shemain Esrei. So to us, he has to wake up, number one. But number two, that's sheker. It's not weekday at Shabbos, but that's not true. Based on the Gemara in Brachas Chaf Aleph, the Mechaber in Reish Samachez Beis says if someone started saying the weekday Shemain Esrei on Shabbos, he started at the Chaynel Adam Das, he has to finish that bracha. What's the pshat? Because really you should daven regular Shemain Esrei on Shabbos and Yom Tov. But Chazal will not matriach us. But once you started, if you started, you have to finish. So Lamaisa, if someone was really fashlafet and davened the entire weekday Shemain Esrei on Shabbos, it's not sheker. But what's the problem? He's missing the haskara. And that's why in Reish Samachez Dalid, he davened the Tfilas Chayil on Shabbos, he was not yoitza. But let's say he's a very creative person, and he said a regular weekday Shemain Esrei, but he came to Yalav Yavai, he remembered it was Shabbos. So he made up his own Yalav Yavai. He said Yalav Yavai, B'yayim Shabbos Hazeh. Very interesting lamdin. Believe it or not, he would be Yaitza. Because he has no sheker, he has a valid Shemain Esrei, and he also said an askara. Rather, there's some that say, in every Yalav Yavai we say Shabbos, when it's Shabbos Chal B'Yom Tov. But this is Mamash and Mechaba, so a beautiful example where you have a non-sheker and a partial haskara. Now here I want to mention a big kasha. How could you be yaitze with this Yalav Yavai? There's no chasima. He didn't say Mekadosh Yisrael Vazmanim, or Mekadosh Shabbos. So the Rav in Tov Pei Zayin Gimel avarns this, and he says, since the weekday Shemain Esrei on Shabbos and Yom Tov is a valid Shemain Esrei, there's no need for a chsima. All you have to do is an askara you had. It happens on a Shabbos or a Yom Tov. He was in autopilot, he's davening cruise control, thinking it was weekday. And then he chapped, what am I doing? It's Shabbos. So here, if he just said the word Ata, and he thought that it was weekday, it's a problem. Unless that particular Shemain Esrei, the word Ata, Atkidashta. But let's say it's a Yismach Moshe, the first words, he would have to finish the bracha. But the good news is, when it comes to Yom Tiv, even if he started saying Ata, he doesn't finish Chaynein. Why? Because the Yom Tov davening always begins Ata v'chartanu. But let's say he said Ata Chaynein Adam Das, then he has to finish that bracha. If he's really fashlafen and he goes weiter and weiter, he finishes whatever bracha he's holding. I hope when he starts clapping for Slach Lanu, he'll wake up. But basically, I should mention, it's not a joke, the Ber Heitev in the beginning of Reish Samaches quotes the Shla Kodesh, that if someone Chalila said the wrong bracha, it's a siman lo yitoiv, yidei kol ha-shavua, yefashviv b'maisa, v'yahara b'tshuva. The first Shabbos after Yom Tiv, it's common that a person davened a Yom Tiv Shemain Esrei. Rather, this year, Eretz Yisrael, they don't have Achron Shel Pesach, we have it. They have Shabbos is Isru Chag. So a person was in 7 days in the Pesach mode. B'kitza, on a regular Shabbos Kodesh, he davened a Yom Tiv davening. So if he started the Yom Tiv davening, what should he do? Stop in middle. We just learned that if you start the bracha, you're supposed to finish it. That's if you start a bracha that's not possible. You started the weekday Shemain Esrei on Shabbos, it's not possible. Finish it. But if you started the wrong bracha, Misha Yoichel Shum, Yachzev Yoichel Shum, so up the Chayodim and Chavches Yud Gimel, the Machzik Bracha, the Kafachayim, all quote this La'alocha. If you started the wrong bracha, don't finish it. There's no purpose in finishing your bracha Levatala. Stop. And go back to the proper Shabbos Shemain Esrei. Assuming, again, a regular Shabbos, the Shabbos after Pesach, and Eretz Yisrael particularly, he was really fashlafen and he completed the entire Yom Tiv Shemain Esrei. So put in perspective, on a regular Shabbos, he davened a Yom Tov Davening. But he knew it was Shabbos, so he mentioned Shabbos. So on a regular Shabbos, he has a Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos Shmon Esrei. What would you say? Well, he has an Askara, but he has a lot of Sheker. And here's where we come to the end of Kuf Ches. The Mechaber holds, if someone said the wrong Askara, it's not a hefsik. The Mishnah Berurah brings many Roiv Achrayim and say no. If you said Sheker, it's no good. Mishnah Berurah says if it's not Sheker Mamish, if you talk about a day, but not, you didn't say B'yoyim Hazeh, Yoyim HaShabbos Hazeh, if you talk about Ya'aleh V'Yavoy, how good it is, but you didn't say Rosh Chodesh Hazeh, it's not Sheker. But at the end of the day, the Mishnah Berurah seems to paskin, if you said Sheker Milish Shmon Esrei, it's a hefsik. So if someone on a regular Shabbos, daven Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos Shmon Esrei, he has no problem. He said the right Askara. But he has extra Sheker, and therefore it would be possible. A regular Yom Tov, let's talk about next Sunday, Abba Aleinu L'Tova, is Pesach. Let's talk about next Friday, is Shvi Shel Pesach. Okay? And he davened a regular Yom Tov davening, but he trimmed it. He skipped Vatitein Lanu. So he didn't say B'yom Chag HaMatzos. How? We don't ask how, but that's what happened. Was he Yaitzu or not? Oh. So Lamaisa, there's no Sheker. He made the Askara. He said Ya'aleh V'Yavoy. He said Makadosh Yisrael V'Azmanim. But he missed one of the three Haskaras, we'll call it, in the Psicha. Now, it's not really a Psicha, but in the first bracha, he missed one of the three. Usually we say Vatitein, Ya'aleh V'Yavoy, and we say Vasiyenu, Yom Tov. But he left out Vatitein. So this is category number 2, that he left out some of the Askara. And the Shulchan Aruch in Tov Pei Zayin Gimel says he would be Yaitza. Why is he Yaitza? Because he has a good Shemon Esrei, no Sheker. He mentioned in the Psicha, he mentioned the Chsima. So, of course, every word is important. You shouldn't trim the Shemon Esrei. But if he did miss one of the Askaras, he would be Yaitza. Question. It's a regular Yom Tiv. Let's talk about Sunday, second day Pesach. Let's talk about Shuni Shvi Shel Pesach. And it's a little complicated because he davens in the regular Siddur. He uses the regular Shachris. And he didn't turn to daven to the Yom Tiv Shemon Esrei. He said the regular Shabbos Shemon Esrei. I guess a new meaning of Smichas Gula Tefillah. Gal Yisrael Shemon Esrei. So he ended up saying a regular Shabbos Shemon Esrei on a Yom Tiv. So he has double trouble. Number 1, it's Sheker. And number 2, he's missing the Askara. And this is Kamat, what the Mechaber in Reish Samaches Dalet says, if you daven a weekday on Shabbos, you're not Yoitza because you don't have Askara. Ours is worse. No Askara, and he also has Sheker. Let's say he was an interesting Lamdin. He davened the Shabbos Shemon Esrei, but he added Ya'aleh V'Yavoy for Yom Tov. So he has an Askara, very good, but he has a lot of Sheker. He davened Shabbos. So that would be totally in the original Shail, like the Mishnah Berurah's Mod Rav Paiskim, he was not Yaitza that Shemon Esrei. Let's assume it's the same situation. It's Sunday, Beis Pesach, it's Friday, Shvi Shel Pesach. A little famished, he davened the Yom Tov Shemon Esrei, but he added Shabbos. In other words, on a regular Yom Tov, he davened Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. So if you have an ayin tov, you'll say, well, the whole Yom Tov Shemon Esrei is good. He added a little bit. Was is gefährlich? The answer is, it's not Shabbos, Rabbi. So he did a good Yom Tov, no problem in the Askara, but he added Sheker. Friday is not Shabbos. And that would be a problem. Now, if he left out, he didn't say the word Shabbos Hazeh, he spoke about Shabbos, so then maybe you could salvage it. But if he said Yom HaShabbos Hazeh, that is a problem. That's Sheker, and that's totally Machlokes the Mechaber and Roiv Achrayim. Let me share with you a beautiful inyan. It was a regular Yom Tiv, and he's not so tzemisht. He didn't say Shabbos. But for some reason, he skipped Yalav Yavai. In other words, Sunday, after a long Seder, he said the Yom Tov Davening, no Shabbos, he skipped Yalav Yavai. Now, how does it happen? We stopped asking that. It happened. Is he Yaitza? He left out Yalav Yavai on Yom Tov. So what comes to mind, Zil Kri Beirav. Any child knows if you leave out Yalav Yavai on any day, Chalamoid, any Tefillah, Shachris, Mincha, or Ma'ariv, if you left out Yalav Yavai, you're not Yaitza. You know, people mistake Rosh Chodesh at night, you left out Yalav Yavai, you're okay. But if you leave out Yalav Yavai on Yom Tov Chalamoid, you can't be Yaitza. Oh, but for us today, we could maybe salvage this situation. Because he davened Yom Tov, he said Vatitein lanu Chag HaMatzos, he said Mekadosh Yisrael v'Azmanim, he said V'Asiyenu. So what's he missing? Let's make a cheshbon. No sheker. He said an Haskara. He left out Yalav Yavai. That's category number 2. That's the Mechaben Shulchan Aruch, that if he left out part of the Haskara, he would be Yaitza. Well, that's Taka, the sheet of the Binyan Shloim, Rab Shlomo Vilnia, in Haisafa Simon Yudches. He says, Pashit, I would say he's not Yaitza because he left out Yalav Yavai, but wait, this is tough Pei Zayin. He left out part of the Haskara. And therefore, the Chayr, he's Yaitza. But then he says a Daf Nifla. If I would pause to ask you, one Yom Tov he has a problem if you left out Yalav Yavai. Which Yom Tov is the problem? So listen to his Einfeld. Maybe Rosh Hashanah that you left out Yalav Yavai is worse. Why? Because the Rosh Hashanah Yalav Yavai, besides going for the Yom Tov, it's going for Rosh Chodesh. And that the Rosh Hashanah Haskar is not going to help for Rosh Chodesh. So maybe if you left out Yalav Yavai, the problem is not als the Yom Tov, als the Rosh Chodesh. So then he says, Oy Bazoi, if he left out the Yalav Yavai, Leil Rosh Hashanah, then he's okay. Because that we know, if you leave out Yalav Yavai on Leil Rosh Chodesh, you're okay. Divrei Pi Chacham Chayin, Amar de Geinfeld. The Rosh Chodesh is only mentioned in the Yalav Yavai, even though you don't say Rosh Chodesh Hazeh, but mentioning Rosh Hashanah goes on Rosh Chodesh. Now I saw in the Sefer Isha Yisrael, Mem Beis Chav Gimel, he has an interesting kasha. The Magen Avram in Tav Chav Beis Dalid has a shaila. It's very brief, Kedarkai. If you have a suffix, if you said Yalav Yavai, on Yom Tiv, if you have to go back or not. So the kasha is, Loite Binyan Shloima, even if you left it out, you're Yaitza. So what's the suffix? So could be the Magen Avram suffix is going on Rosh Hashanah if you left out the Yalav Yavai. Rosh Hashanah by day, then even the Binyan Shloima would be Moide. But this is an interesting riddle to ask at home. You left out Yalav Yavai on Yom Tiv and you're Yaitza? The answer is yes, because you have an Askara in the other part of Shmoneh Esrei. The next group of questions is regarding the Chasima. So this is interesting. If a person said Mekadosh Yisrael and didn't say V'Hazmanim, Zog the Mishnah Berurah, he's not Yaitza. Mekadosh Yisrael is a very wonderful tefillah. Bryson gives us Kedusha, but you didn't mention Yom Tov. So it's as if he didn't make a Chasima. Imagine on Shabbos, Shabbos is Mekadosh Yisrael. But he didn't say Shabbos. So if he just said Mekadosh Yisrael, didn't say Hazmanim, he's not Yaitza. The question is, why is he not Yaitza? He said, Yalav Yavai Vatitin Lanu. The Torah says he has no Chasima. Without a Chasima, he's Mishanim Yadbeya Shetavu Chachamim. He would not be Yaitza. I want to share with you a point to think about. You'll take it home. We'll talk about it over Yom Tov. I'd love to hear a better Torah than I'm going to give you. We say in the 3 regalim, Mekadosh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. Do you ever wonder why aren't we more specific? Why don't we say Mekadosh Yisrael v'Chag HaMatzos, Chag HaSukkos? You'll say, I never heard of this. What's wrong with saying the general? I'll tell you, you heard of it. How do we end the Rosh Hashanah davening? Yom HaZikaron, Yom Kippur davening, Yom Kippurim. We just had the Shabbos Shechal Rosh Chodesh at the Yotzarta. What we say? Mekadosh HaShabbos v'Yisrael b'Rosh Chodesh. So now we see 3 times that we are specific. So why Shalosh Regalim do we say Zmanim and not Pesach, Sukkot or Shavuos? So the negative person says, listen, we make enough mistakes as it is. You're going to start saying, B'gaz Yisrael and Pesach, let's just keep it simple. But we're more positive. So I saw the Aruch HaShulchan and Taf Pei Zayin Gimel. He says the Torah puts the 3 Yomim Tovim in one. L'moshel, Eila Mayadei Hashem, or Vaydaber Moshe es Mayadei Hashem. So it's one Kedusha, so in the Tefillah it's one. In other words, it's based on the pasuk, but it still needs hezbollah. Like, what's wrong with being more specific? The Tshuvas Matas Yoda in Tanyana Yud Zayin says similarly. He says all the 3 regalim are Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. It's all leading up to Shavuos, the Tachlis of Yitzias Mitzrayim. So it's all one. And the emphasis I want to add, the Levush in the beginning of Taf Peiches points out that in the 3 Yom Tovim we say we begin Shachris HaKeil B'Sa'atzu Mois. Why? Because the 3 Yomim Tovim were Yitzias Mitzrayim, that the Baruch Hashem showed his strength, his oitzim koyach. So it is true, the 3 regalim are one. But the kasha still is, I think, there. Good, you could be yoitzu with zmanim, but why aren't you more specific? So Shlomo Zalman Alicha Shlomo Rosh Hashanah Perek Aleph Orah Tezayin, he says that really Yidden are not Mekadosh the Yom Tov. We're Mekadosh the Rosh Chodesh. From Rosh Chodesh, we figure out the Yom Tov. So it's not so appropriate to say Mekadosh Yisrael v'Chag HaMatzos. Again, also it needs a little of a hezbollah. What I saw, a very novel suggestion, the Torah Tamima wrote a sefer Baruch She'ama on Siddur. So on the Tefillas of Yom Tovim, he has a different kash. He says, the word Zmanim is a very strange word. Say regalim. Zmanim is day, times, what does it mean? And also, he says, why aren't we more specific? Mekadosh Yisrael v'Chag HaMatzos. And he points out something that's remarkable. Masech Tesai from the end of Perek Yud Gimel speaks about the bracha of the Haftarah that we say on Yom Tov, and I quote, Yisayim Mekadosh Yisrael v'Yom Ploni. So it seems in Masech Tesai from time, they said the specific Yom Tov. So why do we say Zmanim if it's so inaccurate? So he has a very interesting suggestion. In the olden days, there was no printing. It was written by hand. So in a Siddur, it was very tedious. Mekadosh Yisrael, you have to write out Chag HaMatzos, and Chag HaShavuos, Chag HaSukkos. One printer was a little lazy. He said, I'm not doing this. So he left the line, and under the line he wrote Zmanim. Fill in Matzos, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos. The next printer saw Zmanim. Hey, why is it below the line? So he decided to correct it. Mekadosh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. Okay, it's interesting, but it's hard to believe that a mistake of such a magnitude crept into all the Siddurim. So if someone has a better teretz, I would love to hear, but there's something interesting about the Hazmanim as opposed to more specific. The next Shaila you need mazel to have is, I once heard this Shaila, someone davened a long Rosh Hashanah davening, and I guess he ended by heart, Mekadosh Yisrael v'Hazmanim on Rosh Hashanah. So, l'chayra, we have 2 problems. There's no haskara, and it's sheker. But the emphasis is probably not sheker. To call Rosh Hashanah a regel might be wrong. It's not what Gimel Regalim. But it's Zmanim. I mean, I'm not bringing a raya, but the Rambam has Hilchas Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in Zmanim of his Sefer. It's not a raya, but certainly I don't think it's sheker. But the Matafrayim and Taf Kuf Pei Beis Yudches of Shlomo Zalman and Halichos Rosh Hashanah on Betches quotes his lalacha, but Lamaisa it was an inappropriate chasima. You're supposed to say Mekadosh Yisrael and Rosh Hashanah, and he would not be yait. Listen to a beautiful shaila from a different angle, but it's all our same sugya. Someone has a suffix of location. He's in Eretz Yisrael, he's in Chutz La'aretz, he's not sure if he's a Ben Eretz Yisrael. It comes to Sunday, Haba Leinu L'Tayva. Next Sunday is Yom Tov Sheni for us. For Eretz Yisrael is a regular Chol HaMoed. What Shmoneh Esrei should he daven? He asks you point blank, tefillin I don't wear anyhow, it's not a shaila. What Shmoneh Esrei do I daven? So today, after learning this sugya, we have a wonderful suggestion. You know what you should do? Daven a regular Shmoneh Esrei, a weekday Shmoneh Esrei, and say Ya'aleh V'Yavai. B'manashach. If you're a Ben Eretz Yisrael, that's Chol HaMoed, you're perfect. Even if you're a Ben Chutz La'aretz, we said, based on the Mechaba, a regular Shmoneh Esrei is Yoitze as long as it's an Askara. And that seems to be the halachas ketanais in Siman Dalet. It's a very long tshuva in the New Prince. It's Amud Chaf. He says if you daven, if you have a suffix, daven a weekday Shemain Esra and say Ya'aleh v'Yaveh. Now, the problem is when you get to Achrein Shel Pesach on a regular year, or even this year, then you can't use this. Because if you're going to daven a regular Shemain Esra and add Ya'aleh v'Yaveh misafik, you might be making a sheker. I think if you say Ya'aleh v'Yaveh and don't say Rosh Yom Chag HaMatzos Hazeh, if you try to talk about it in a way that it's not me, it's the Yom Tov, so then you see Mr. Brewer says as long as you don't make a specific sheker, it wouldn't be a problem, at least according to some shittas. Reb Shlomo Zalman in Shulchan Shlomo in Reish Samaches, the third Hagah on the bottom, he says if someone's stuck in a place he doesn't have a siddur and he doesn't know Shemain Esrei by heart, he should daven on Yom Tov, he should daven a regular Shemain Esrei, Yud Ches, and add Ya'aleh v'Yaveh. Because it's Mamish Our Yesod. He says, but what do you do if it's Shabbos? So he says, say Ya'aleh v'Yaveh and say B'yom HaShabbos Hazeh. Because like we said, Ya'aleh v'Yaveh and Shabbos is not a stira. So here we see that knowing a little bit gives you a lot of mileage, so to speak. I had the shiloh once, someone asked me this, he said Musaf instead of Shachris. How does it happen? We stopped asking that, but it happened. So he said the right day, the right Askara, but the wrong Shemain Esrei. So the Paiskim say it's not all lost. You should somehow send a message to, Baruch Shalom, I'm sorry, that was a Musaf. Shachris is coming. What you do is you reorganize your tefillahs. We find in Shulchan Aruch in Reish Pei Vav Aleph, if someone daven Musaf instead of Shachris, he would be Yotzeh. Of course, Mr. Brewer says you were only Yotzeh Musaf, so after the Musaf, you have to daven Shachris. Now, Grada, you're supposed to daven in order, Shachris, and then Musaf. Don't forget, Smichas Gul Tefillah Gal Yisrael into Musaf is a very funny shidduch. Gal Yisrael into Musaf, but Lamaisa, if you messed up the order, you daven Musaf first, then you could daven Shachris. We had the Shiloh once, someone davened Shachris, and then Musaf, he davened another Shachris. He missed up the Siddur, that he knew, but he ended up by Shachris, so he's on autopilot, he davened a second regular Shemain Esrei instead of Musaf. So this I saw, Moshe says in a tshuva, in Chele Gimel Tzadik Zayin, if it's late enough, let that second, quote, Shachris, be a Mincha, if it's after Zman Mincha, the early Zman Mincha, and then he'll daven a Musaf for what he missed. Another group of questions, Dava Be'ite Matoiv, we have this year was Zoycha to 2 Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. We have the first day Pesach is Shabbos, and Achron Shal Pesach is Shabbos. Someone remembered that it was Yom Tov, so he turned from the Shabbos Shemain Esrei to the Yom Tov Shemain Esrei. So far, so good. But he said a regular Yom Tov Shemain Esrei. So in other words, Shabbos, the first day Pesach, or Shabbos Achron Shal Pesach, he davened a perfect Yom Tov Shemain Esrei. No mention of Shabbos. What's the halacha? So this is very simple. He's missing Shabbos. He's missing an Askar. This is Reish Samaches Daled. Even though there's no sheker, he was not Yotzeh. If he only said Shabbos Shemain Esrei, he didn't miss, and no mention of Yom Tov, Vaita, he's missing a Askar of Yom Tov, and he's not Yotzeh. But listen to this Ga'onis. The first Shemain Esrei, he missed and only said Yom Tov. The second Shemain Esrei, he said, I have to do Shabbos. So he only said Shabbos. So now listen to his Ga'onis. He has one Shemain Esrei only Yom Tov, and one Shemain Esrei only Shabbos. What do you tell this person? Is he Yotzeh? Do you add up? Oh, so here it's the old Shaila. When you left out Haskara, is the Pshat you have a good Shemain Esrei, but you left out the Haskara. So the first Shemain Esrei was a half, second Shemain Esrei was a half, 2 halves add up to a whole. But if we say a Shemain Esrei without Haskara is Nishkedavint, so 2 zeros don't add up. So indeed, the Paiskim say that's the way to look at this Shaila. And to make a long story short, Rav Moshe and Chelik Dalet, Siman Ayin, Sifkat and Yudalet, Reb Shlomo Zalman, Alicha Shleim, on Pesach Aleph, Hara 55, say that Lamaisa, we could definitely be Saimach that the Shemayin Esrei was good, but it's missing an Askara. So in the next Shemayin Esrei, if you said what you left out, 2 halves add up. In fact, Rav Moshe has a tzad, maybe in the second Shemayin Esrei, L'chatchila, only daven what you're missing. But Rav Zalman doesn't like that. He says, Lamaisa, the first one was not complete. Why don't you do it right? So we'll say that if you left out, let's say you left out Shabbos in a Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos Tefillah, say again the full Shemayin Esrei Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. If Lamaisa, you only daven Shabbos in the second, you're Yoitza. Rav Moshe in that tshuva has an interesting story. So when I was in Luban still, there was some Yidden that were arrested. There was Rosh Chodesh, Shvat Shechal B'Shabbos. They were thrown into jail, and they couldn't get Sidurim. And they did not know the Atiyat Tzarta Nusach by heart. So Moshe said, I told them, daven a regular Musaf l'Shabbos, and hopefully if you're freed before Shabbos is over, you'll daven another Shemayin Esrei. Now what did you gain? You gained half a davening. They knew that by heart. But it's that you say, it's 2 halves, it's not 2 zeros. I once had the Shaila Mamish, and the yeshiva, someone asked me, it was Rosh Hashanah Shechal B'Shabbos, it was Leil Rosh Hashanah Shechal B'Shabbos, and he made a beautiful Kiddush, but he left out Shabbos. He made a regular Rosh Hashanah Kiddush. So it was Eidim, very Eidl, he told him this, Shver Leibman, you forgot to mention Shabbos. He goes, yeah, but I was Yoitza. He had a whole cheshbon, because Rosh Hashanah you had a fast, that's the whole cheshbon. So the Eidim says, I'm saying Kiddush anyhow, why don't you be Yoitza my Kiddush just in case? Okay. So the next day he comes to me with his Eidim. They tell me the story. Who was right? So I was in a quandary, but I says, it's a good thing you listen to your Eidim. Because if you make a Kiddush on a Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos and you left out Shabbos, you weren't Yoitza the Kiddush, because it's Shabbos. So I told him, if not for your Eidim, you'd have to make now, they have a Kiddush, there's a lot of people there, you'd have to make a regular Rosh Hashanah Kiddush again. You would get a lot of attention. Rather, you don't say Vayachulu again, but you'd have to make another Kiddush, because if you run Yoitza at night, you'd have to make a new Kiddush by day. The only good news in this question is, if you made a Kiddush, you were not Yoitza at night, when you repeat the Kiddush, you do not repeat the Shechiyanu. Even though we say Shechiyanu as part of Kiddush, but it's not really the integral part of Kiddush. Up to Ber Heitev, in Reish Ayin Aleph Tezvav, L'maisa, if the Kiddush was possible, you have to repeat the Kiddush, but don't repeat the Alavi of it, the Shechiyanu. The really challenging questions is Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. Again, this coming Shabbos Abba Aleinu L'Tov is Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, and Achron Shel Pesach is again Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. So the question is, when you davened and Lamashal you said Yom Tov and Shabbos in the Shemar Esrei, but in the Chesima you left out one or the other. So what's interesting is the Mishnah Berurah and Taf Pei Zayin Sif Kat Yud Gimel says, let's say a person daven a regular Yom Tov davening on Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, but at the end he threw in Shabbos u'Moyadei Kodshecha. So he mentioned Shabbos in the bracha and then in the chesima. Is that considered mentioning Shabbos? So Mishnah Berurah has a suffix. So Chaim Ganyevsky says, well, if Mishnah Berurah has a suffix, you could be machriya that it's considered mentioning Shabbos. Is very mashma from the Mishnah Berurah that, let's say a person did not mention Shabbos at all in the beginning, only in the chesima. He did not mention Shabbos. He regularly Yom Tov. He threw it in Baruch Atah Hashem B'Kadosh HaShabbos V'Yisrael V'Azmanim. But the Mishnah Berurah is mashma, it would be a problem, because you have to mention Shabbos in the bracha and the chesima. Just mentioning it once in the chesima would not be enough. That's the mashmois, and it knows it has to have a bracha with the beginning and the end. Rather, the Derech HaChaim in Tfilas Yom Tov Dalid is Mekel, but it seems you have to have a little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end. We said earlier, partial is good. Partial means, instead of saying 3 times in the bracha, and you left out Ya'alav V'Yavo, you left out Batit, then that's good. But if you mention no part of Shabbos in the beginning, and only in the Chesima, that's much worse. The really common question is the person daven Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, and he said everything in the Siddur. At the end, he said Mekadesh Yisrael Vazmanim and left out Shabbos. Or Mekadesh HaShabbos and left out Yom Tov. In other words, the Psicha, the Bracha was fine. The Chasima, he left out one of the two. So to make a very long story short, the Mishnah in Taf Pei Zayin, Sif Katan Zayin, and on the Bialocha Barichas comes out based on his careful understanding of the Rishonim that if you left out Shabbos in the Chasima, you're not Yotzim. Even though you mentioned it in the whole Shemona Esrei. If you left out Yom Tov in the Chasima, he said Mekadesh HaShabbos and left out Yisrael Vazmanim, then you're Yotzim. But if you left out Shabbos, you just said Mekadesh Yisrael Vazmanim, the Mishnah Blibes V'tzorach Ian, maybe you're not Yotzim. V'tzorach Ian L'maisa. Rab Shlomo Zalman Alicha Shlomo Tefillah Yud Zayin Sif Katan Yud saves the day, and he says the Mishnah has a Tzorach Ian, but we could be Mekel. So we'll say very clearly, if someone on a Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, Daven the Shemona Esrei fine, in the Chasima he left out either Shabbos or Yom Tov, either one, La'alocha L'maisa B'di'evet, he was Yotzah. Any mistake in the Chasima, as long as the beginning was right, you would be Yotzah the Shemona Esrei. As you see, it's quite complicated making mistakes. It's much easier to do things right and say it the way it's supposed to. Next question is a common question. On a Yom Tov, let's say Shechal, L'mashal Achron Shel Pesach, Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. A person, either Yom Tov Achron Shel Pesach or the first day Pesach, Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, he finished Gal Yisrael, he did not miss the Siddur, so he davened a regular Shabbos Shemona Esrei and added Yalav V'Yavai. In other words, on a Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, he's supposed to say a fully loaded Shemona Esrei, Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. Instead, he davened a regular Shabbos and just said Yalav V'Yavai. So this is problematic. There's no sheker because it's Shabbos. But where's the Yom Tov? Just Yalav V'Yavai? Where's the Chasima? Where's the Haskara? Just one Yalav V'Yavai? Oh. But then again, wait a second. We learned that on a regular Yom Tov, he davened a regular Shemona Esrei of weekday and he added Yalav V'Yavai Yotzah. So why is Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos with the Shabbos Shemona Esrei with Yalav V'Yavai? Why isn't that good? And that was Taka the Psak of the Stipler. In Orchos Rabbeinu Beis Peites, rather Shalom was Leil Shvili Shel Pesach, that was Shabbos, he davened a regular Shabbos and added Yalav V'Yavai. Someone asked this to the Stipler. So the Stipler says, you're probably Yotzah. But he added a Gevaldige Lumdus. If you davened a regular weekday Shemona Esrei and added Yalav V'Yavai, that's better. Because that is a proper Shemona Esrei. For Shabbos and Yom Tov, Yud Tes Brachas is proper. Then it's good. But you have a funny Shemona Esrei. Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, you said a Shabbos Shemona Esrei? It's supposed to be Yom Tov. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's worse. Because you were supposed to have a Yom Tov Shemona Esrei Shechal B'Shabbos, and you said a Shabbos Shemona Esrei. But Lamaisi says, I was more noita that you don't have to say it over, because you have everything there. You have the Shabbos, you have an Askara. There's no Chasima. Chasima is not Ma'akif. But I would mention that Tzelem Erav and the Tshuva Simon Tzadik Vav and those Merkachim has this very shaila and he holds you not Yotzah. Apparently he felt like the Stipler's Havamina. It's the wrong Shemona Esrei. Where's your Chasima? Yud Ches Brachas is better on Yom Tov than a Shabbos Dik Shemona Esrei on Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos. Let's talk about a few Musaf questions. Musaf on a Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, we had that twice, next Shabbos and the Shabbos afterwards, should be a quote, a fully loaded Musaf that has Yom Tov and Shabbos. If you left out only a Shabbos Musaf, didn't mention Yom Tov, or only a Yom Tov Musaf and didn't mention Shabbos, both cases you're missing an Askara, no Sheka, and you're not Yotzah. The common question that the Rabbanim have is on a Yom Tov Musaf, and he made a mistake in the Karbonos, especially on Sukkot, every day is different, and as if it's not complicated enough, some Siddurim are made for Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz, and they say for Eretz Yisrael, for Chutz La'aretz, and you always go to the Eretz Yisrael side. Bekitza, you said the wrong karbanis. So to us, it's the most intimidating shayla. Karbanis, shalom parmas vaseinu. But believe it or not, the Ramon Reish Samachez Dalid, the Mishnah in the end of Taf Peiches, which is based on a Chayi Adam, that basically, if you said no karbanis at all, you daven musaf, you said you just mentioned bringing karbanis, but didn't mention any specific karbanis, or you said the wrong karbanis, you would be yaitza. Chayadam, Mishnah quotes the Chayadam in the end of Klal Chavches. Now the question is, wait a minute, you said the wrong karbanis, why isn't that sheker? The answer is pashit. I didn't say today is Yom Sheni, I said uva Yom HaSheni, so and so. If you said Hayom Yom Sheni, that's sheker. But if I said the carbon for Yom Sheni, today is the Yom Shlishi, true, but I didn't say today is Yom Sheni. And therefore, Lamaisa you'd be Yaitz. Rav Moshe Chelik Dalet Chaf Aleph Sif Katan Gimel has a chiddush. He says himself, I didn't see anybody else say this, but I think it's true. On a Yom Tiv Shachal B'Shabbos, he davened a regular musaf of Shabbos. Okay, interesting fellow. Added Yalav Yavai, so he has an askara. But it comes out the karbanis were only Shabbos and not Yom Tiv. So Moshe says, listen, if you left out all the karbanis, so you're okay, that's the Chayyadim. But if you only said part of karbanis, the implication is that the carbon is this and not that. That's problematic. In other words, no karbanis, or you said the wrong day is okay. But the wrong combination, you left out part of the karbanis, so the implication is it's only this and not that, or Moshe says it's a problem. So that's something to think about, that that might be a sheker in the karbanis, which is worse. Moving on to Chol HaMoed. So Chol HaMoed grad is very conducive for mistakes for two reasons. First of all, after 2 days Yom Tov, you go into Chol HaMoed, you're still in the Yom Tov mode. And also, Chol HaMoed is tricky, because Shachris is a regular Shemay Esra, Musaf is a Yom Tov Shemay Esra. Imagine the following. It was a regular Chol HaMoed Monday, next Monday, Abolein Ultaiva, Monday, Chol HaMoed Shachris. And you're a Yom Tov Dikayid, so for Shachris, you daven a Yom Tov Shemay Esra, of course, with Yalav Yavai. A fully loaded Yom Tov Shemay Esra on Chol HaMoed Shachal B'Chayil Monday morning. So the emphasis is it's not sheker, because Yom Tov, Chol HaMoed is Yom Tov. The Rashban Chelik Hey Reish Tezvav. I'm going a different shalos. This Chol HaMoed is Yom Tov. We say Musafim of Yom Tov. It's Asa B'Malacha. It's Yom Tov. So the problem is not that you said sheker. To say Kol Chol HaMoed Yom Tov is not sheker. But you know what the problem is? You're missing 13 brachas. Chazal said on a regular Chol HaMoed weekday you say 19 brachas. And you said 7. You're missing the bulk of the Shemay Esra. B'yesa bio, b'yesa gishmak, it's a daven ifra. On a Shabbos or Yom Tiv, if you daven 19 brachas, you're okay. Because it's not wrong. But on a Chol HaMoed, you trimmed it to a regular Yom Tiv, you're missing the brachas. And Taka, the Lev Chaim, Rav Chaim Falaji, and Beis Tezvav, Rav Moshe, Chelik Dalech, Chaf Aleph Gimel, say, in Mamash, this very Shaila, on a Chol HaMoed, you daven Yom Tov Shemay Esra, you are missing brachas, and you're not Yaitza. The next question, Shabbos Chol HaMoed. Now, I can't say this year, we don't have a Shabbos Chol HaMoed this year, but you know what Shabbos Chol HaMoed is, a regular Shabbos Chol HaMoed, instead of a Shabbos Shemay Esra, with Yalav Yavai, which is typical, supposed to, he mished the Siddur and davened a Yom Tiv Shechal B'Shabbos Shemay Esra. So it's a Shabbos Chol HaMoed, and he davened a Yom Tiv Shechal B'Shabbos Shemay Esra. So the Chari said, we just spoke about that, but it's not true. Because this case, the Chari is fine. No sheker, you didn't miss an askara. It's Shabbos, it's not Yom Tiv, it's Chol HaMoed, but Chol HaMoed Ikvi Shabbos, Ikvi Yom Tiv. And Makar Chaim in Taf Tzadik Sifkat and Test, the Kaf Chaim Reish Samach Ches Sifkat and Ches, the second one, says clearly in this very case, which is rather common, on a Chol HaMoed, Shabbos Chol HaMoed, he davened Yom Tiv Shechal B'Shabbos, he would be Yoitza. The Chiddush to me, Rav Moshe Chelik Daled Chaf Aleph Gimel has this very Shaila, and he writes Mistavri and not Yoitza. But I should say, Makar Chaim, Chavas Yor is Pashit, after you are Yoitza, Kaf Chaim says that, and Avad, you could be Saimach on that, not to repeat the Shemay Esra. Let's say someone on Pesach, he said, Yom Chag HaShavuos Hazeh. He's very excited about Kabbalah Satira. He said Shavuos instead of Pesach. Or Rosh Chodesh Iyar, like we said, he said Chag HaPesach, Chag HaMatzos. So this is double trouble. You don't have an Askara, you didn't say Chag HaMatzos, and it's Sheker. And that's no doubt about it that he has to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei. Now, you'll say, but I said everything else. I said Askaris. But if you put in a Sheker in Shemoneh Esrei, according to Rav Achronim, it's a problem. Interesting, Rabbi Akiva Eigen in the beginning of Tov Pei Zayin quotes the Beis Yehuda, Yehuda Ayash, that if he said the wrong Yom Tov, you're Yoitza. Now, it's a chiddush to me because Yehuda Ayash was a Sfardi, goes with the Mechaba, that Shek is not a problem. Why is Rabbi Akiva Eigen being Mitzayin in Shulchan Aruch for Ashkenazim? At least for Ashkenazim, L'chayra, the wrong Yom Tov should be a problem. Interesting question. A person, Yom Tov, Shechal B'Shabbos, this is it, or better yet, on a regular Yom Tov, he said, Mekadesh HaShabbos. Let's talk about that. Mekadesh HaShabbos. Oh, and then Yisrael Vazmanim. So, Toich Kedei Dibur, you're allowed to correct it. Fine. But the problem is, you have a wrong Haskara. Zok the Mishtabura, you're supposed to say, Mekadesh, start again. Mekadesh Yisrael Vazmanim. You have to delete Mekadesh HaShabbos because it's wrong. Mekadesh Yisrael V'Hazmanim. And the Mishtabura points that out. Choyze v'oyim Mekadesh Yisrael V'Hazmanim. The Shmir HaShabbos in Mem Zayin, Rei Zayin has an interesting Mechadish. Someone said, Chag HaMatzos, Zaman Matan Toiraseinu. So if he said, on Shavuos, Zaman Simchaseinu, no, that's okay. It's not Sheker. But Matzos is not Matan Toiraseinu. So he has a suffix, Lamaisa, Kilkil, Dibur Harisha. In other words, he got the right Yom Tov, but the description was wrong. So Chaim Kanievsky quoted in Isha Yisrael Membeis Yud Bey, says, B'di'eved, that we could salvage. Because the right Yom Tov he got, the description was wrong, okay, keep it B'di'eved. Okay. The big tumult that probably be a share for itself is on Shmini Atzeres, if someone said Chag HaSukkos, and not Shmini Atzeres. So there are poskim that insist it's wrong. It's not, the Torah says a different Yom Tov, it's not Sukkos. Some are Mekel, because Lamaisa, it is part of Sukkos. And Shlomo Zalman in Shmir HaShabbos adds, Befrat in Chutz La'aretz, that we sit in the Sukkah, so it's not Sheker to call the Chag HaSukkos. The Mishtabur and Tov Reish Samaches brings 2 days and not Machriya. That's the scary part of it. But the Aruch HaShulchan, or Moshe likes that Aruch HaShulchan's Raya, Ayin Sham, that you could be soymech, that if you said Chag HaSukkos, even on Simchas Torah, it's not Sheker enough, it's enough of an Askara that the Shemoneh Esrei B'di'eved would be valid. Of course, you have to go back if you can, but B'di'eved you'd be Yaitze with that. Someone is not sure. I had the Shiloh once, someone said, I daven, I'm not sure if I daven Shachris or Musaf. And it must have been Yenesh Shemoneh Esrei. The Chazon Ish was not sure if he ate or not. But I think he knew which Shemoneh Esrei he davened, but anyhow, if you're not sure, so someone said, well, you have to go back. Like if you didn't, you're not sure if he said Ya'aleh V'Yavoy, but that's not true. Because since you daven generally, without Ya'aleh V'Yavoy, we assume he left it out. But if you have a suffix, what you daven, so, I'm not saying the quality of davening was as desired, but why think you daven the wrong Shemoneh Esrei? Meichatesa. The Mishtabura in Reish Samaches Yivkot and Tes has a Shaila, you daven Shemoneh Esrei, you're not sure if you daven weekday or Shabbos. Again, Yenesh Shemoneh Esrei. So Mishtabura says, you have to daven over, because Mistam you davened a weekday Shemoneh Esrei. Now, I saw the Tzitz Eliezer, Yud Gimel Chafei Esrei, Ha'or and the Chayna, Meichatesa. You daven weekday 6 days, and Shabbos 1 day. Who said you daven weekday? If you're used to saying Mashav Ruach for 6 months, or saying Talamat, whatever you're used to for so many months, then we say you're used to it. But weekday over Shabbos, Meichatesa. And he learns a different shot in the Achronim, that if you have a suffix Shabbos or weekday, who said you daven weekday? Maybe you daven Shabbos, if you're in Shul, it's Yom Tov Begadim. But the ever you could be Yaitze with that. Again, these things shouldn't happen because we have to know what we're saying, but Al Kaponim, the only real suffix that's Pashit, if you daven L'moshel Cholamoyed, Shachas Mincha Mai, if you're not sure if he said Ya'aleh V'Yavoy, then you have to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei because you're not used to saying Ya'aleh V'Yavoy. Misafik, it's Kil is a bir, you didn't say it. Someone asked me this past Chalamoid, he left out Yalav Yavi for sure. He decided to insert it in Shalom Rav. Somebody's at the end of Shemay Esrei. So that you're not Yaitza. It goes cool. The Dieved, before you started Moedim, you're allowed to put in Yalav Yavi. But not wherever you want. It has to belong in a place where it belongs. Let me leave you with some assorted shilas. Listen to this shaila, and it happens, Gradim. Yom Tiv Shechal B'Shabbos. Okay? And someone davened only a Shabbos Shemay Esrei. He did mish the Siddur. Shabbos did not mention Yalav Yavi. Okay? He's very embarrassed. He wasn't Yaitza. He's missing Yom Tiv. He has an idea. He's not going to daven over. His children, his Eidim, the Eniklach are all in the shul. Say, why are you davening over? So he has an idea. He's going to listen to the shots, say Me'ein Sheva. The Mechaber says in Shulchan Aruch, Reish Samach Ches Yud Gimel, you could be Yaitza Shemay Esrei with the shots. But there are two problems with this. Number one, on the first night of Pesach, don't wait for the shots to say Me'ein Sheva, because there is no Me'ein Sheva. They state in Tov Pesayim. But there's another problem. Think about your lumdis. You missed what? You missed a Yom Tov, right? In the Me'ein Sheva, there's no mention of Yom Tov. So the Poskim say you're not Yotzim, even if you listen to the shots. But let's say he was a better lamdin. He davened only Yom Tov Shemay Esrei on Yom Tov Shechal Friday night, on Achron Pesach, where there is Men Sheva. He left out Shabbos. Oh, so now we can listen to Men Sheva, right? Nay. Zok Teshari Tshuva Reish Samach Sif Cotton Bays. This is totally in the old Chakir that we mentioned earlier. You started with a Yom Tov davening. Now only Shabbos? Do you add up two halves? Or maybe it's two zeros. So in the best scenario, when there is a Me'ein Sheva and you left out Shabbos, could be you can add it up. But Lamaisa B'di'evet, if you listened, we could be Saimach that it's not two zeros, it's two halves. A shots that made a mistake in the Lachash, so that's an easy shaila. In Kuf Chavav Daled, the Mechaber says that if the shots made a mistake, he wasn't Yoitz in the Lachash, Al Tirchad Zibura, be Yoitza with your Chazar. Women that have a suffix what they said, or they said the wrong Shemay Esrei, so even if you'll say that I'm Mechuyev in this davening, and it could be Yoitz like the Magen Avram with one tefillah, but I did see the Paiskim say, but if you invite their davening, and they want to daven Shachris, then they want Yoitz with the Shachris. So Ba'arichas they saw that Alichas Beisa involved Tess says, if they were not Yoitz with the first one, let them repeat the Shemay Esrei. Someone was davening Shachris, Sukkot Zimran, he was an autopilot, he said, Oz Yashir, straight into Yishtabach. He's looking around, why is the oil taking so long? And then he chapped, it's Yom Tiv, and he skipped Nishmas. Now how could someone skip Nishmas? Veisach Nish, such a heilig, beautiful tefillah, but he skipped Nishmas. So the Maisa, L'Halacha, besides the beauty of it, Mr. Brewer says, even if someone's late, for Sukkot Zimra on Shabbos, you're not supposed to skip Nishmas. Nishmas is rates like Ashrei, Baruch Shem, and Yishtabach. So what does he do? So the Paiskim say that even though he said Yishtabach, which is like the bracha achroina, so to speak, of his Sukkot Zimra, but you can still insert Nishmas after Yishtabach. If he answered Baruch Hu, and that's to start Birchas Krishma, now he's holding Milah Birchas Krishma. In Milah Birchas Krishma, you cannot insert Nishmas. If he just said Baruch Hu and realized his mistake, and he said Baruch Hu to be just an Aniyah, so he didn't start Birchas Krishma yet, then he could insert Nishmas right then and there. Someone made a mistake in the bracha of the Haftarah, Yom Tov Shechal B'Shabbos, only said Yom Tov or Shabbos, Zok Rav Moshe and Daled, Ayin Tzivkot and Yudaled. He was not Yoitz, so he has to repeat the bracha. Even though Brechas HaMitzvahs are not Ma'akiv, this is what I think Rav Moshe meant to say, it's not Ma'akiv if you made the mitzvah and the bracha you missed. But here you could correct it, so you have to correct the bracha properly. This coming Matzai Shabbos of all in the table, we have a very interesting addition of Ataydienu, which is instead of Atachayin Antanu. Lamaisiv, a person Ma'akiv. But listen to a beautiful shaila that Grada comes up and is not clear in earlier Paiskim. He forgot about Ataydienu. He remembered before Bahasi Einu, or any other part, before Yalav Yavai, he forgot to say it in its proper place, but he didn't finish the bracha yet. So we would say, what's the problem? Say it where you are. It's one long bracha, put it in. If you forgot Atachayin Antanu, you can't put it in Hashiva Shayftenu, it's inappropriate. But it's one bracha. Zok the Mati Ephraim and Tofkuf Tzadik Tes Siv Zayin. No. If you didn't say where Chazal put it, go weiter and be yaitza with Havdalah ala Kois. Now the Achrayim after him wonder, what's pshat? It's one long bracha. What's different where the Chazal put it, or before Avasiyenu? But the Meiser of Shleim Zalman, Alicha Shleim, Tfilah Tezayin, Gimel, and the Divrei Yatziv has a beautiful tshuva in Reshut Gimel, Kfar Hoyer Zokim, At Ephraim was Klal Yisrael's Paisik. Apparently, but since Vatedienu is not Ma'akiv, so if you missed it in the right place, don't say it. Rather, Avozna in Chelik Tes, Reish Gimel, was makel to say it any place in that bracha. So this is a tzarachian to think about. One thing I saw, this is really interesting, if someone, Mitzori Shabbos, started not Ata V'chatanu, he started Ata Chaynin La'adam Das. Interesting fellow. So what do you do if you started? You have to finish. Should he say Ata Chaynin Antanu? So that's no good. Why? Pashit. Because it's a different nusach of Avdallah on a Mitzori Shabbos or Mitzori Yom Tov. And Achrei Chava, we have an old minhag to leave the oil with something to take home. Let me tell you another beautiful shayla. This comes up rather every year someplace around the world for sure. Someone was saying Kiddush on Shvi Shal Pesach, and he was so fatvekit, he even said a Shechiyanu. Shvi Shal Pesach is the one Yom Tov, there's no Shechiyanu, but he didn't know that, and he made a Shechiyanu. No, so you're wondering, what's the Shalaf HaFal? Say Baruch Shem, and then don't do it again. The question is, if he could drink the wine of the Kiddush. You're wondering, Shaykhis? Vivait the Shechiyanu is a brachal of atal, it's a hefsik. L'chayra, this is similar to a different shayla. The Magen Avraham and Reish Ayin Aleph Lamed Beis has a shayla, if someone made Kiddush, beautiful Kiddush, on wine, but it ended up being water. So, Lamaisa, he was not yotzes, you can't make Kiddush on water. Magen Avraham says, make another Kiddush, but don't say a new gafen. Apparently, because since he had wine on the table, the gafen was chal. So Reb Shlomo Zalman in Alicha Shleim Pesach Yud Siman Tes Vav says, what do you see from there? Even though the Kiddush was Levatala, it was a Pasla Kiddush, but the gafen is not Pasla. Why? So Reb Shlomo Zalman has Reb Shlomo Zalman's avart. Since you thought this was a Kiddush, Lefi to Uscha, it belonged there, it's not a Hefsik. Hefsik goes Sual Hesach Hadas. It's something that doesn't belong there. This belongs there. Rather, you didn't know it was water. And he gives a mashal nifla. Someone made hamoitzi. Before he ate the bread, he says, Gevil l'tur, feed the cows. So someone that already made hamoitzi says, you forgot we sold that cow 2 years ago. We still feed the cow. He forgot. So it's not a hefsik. Lefi tu'usa, it belonged there. So Shlomo Zalman takes the koyach to say that lefi tu'usa, it belonged there, keep it there. The Pesach Frank in Mikroi Kodesh Pesach Beis Siman Samach Beis, going back years before Shlomo Zalman wrote this, has this psak from Shlomo Zalman, and he says, but according to Bekiva Eiga that argues on the Magen Avram and holds that if it was possible, it's a hefsik, our case would also be possible. But to fast forward 6 months, that also happens. Someone Shmini Atzeres, and he's sitting in the Sukkah Leil Shmini Atzeres like his minig, and he says a Shechiyanu Kedasu Kedin, and then he says a Leisha Basukah. So this I didn't find, but L'chayr, like Shlomo Zalman, that was good, this is also good. Now I once told Rapam, maybe you could also add that could be, since some say you make a Leisha on Shmini, you could add that sheet, because that's not true, because that sheet is Nitcha. But basically, if you thought it belonged there, it's not a toys. Think it's to daven good, daven properly, a good Yom Tov to all of you.
Rabbi Yakov, please just remain seated for 1 minute. The important message from Rabbi Dishon Pesach.
We all heard the shir so many times, the word sheker and sheker. The tone is going to lead. Agam Abada, nobody really means sheker. And I remember for Rav Pam to say even the word sheker is like he just couldn't say the word sheker, I remember. And Rabbi Yakov Zev, I once asked him, B'amei Rachta Yomim, Rabbi Yakov was zoichet ha'ariches Yomim the doilo. He told me these words. Me'olam, ich heiß Yankov, und sie steht, Tite Nemes le Yaakov, ich kann Meid sein, Me'olam lo shinisi bedibur. Viele nicht Meshana given. Okay, now, everybody is in a rush, and I don't know, this is Lachei Pesach, there's so much to do yet. I would like to ask the Olam Shaila. You know, there are Yidden, there are very schwache Yidden, and they cannot make their own. We kennen schwache de Pesach, nehmen die ganze Mishpoche, before Tarosh in a hotel. Why do they do that? So da gaan Menschen, das steht nicht normal. Ein Mensch bei sich nicht tun mit den Kindern, no, er ist einfach schwach, and he has no koyach. His wife doesn't have koyach, so they have to go to a hotel. Now, everybody wants to say Emes, and he'll say, he's certainly not going to be Meshana, the Seder from the Haggadah, Chad Medunah. Kol dich fin Yeseh v'yeichel. Is he going to stand by the door? Let's say someone is going to come with the wife and the children. Here I am. And he'll tell them, Kum Tarain, Kum Tarain. So the hotel owner will tell him, okay, I'll put it on the bill. You know what you're talking about, a large sum of money. So what will you tell him? I said, Kol dich fin Yeseh v'yeichel. So Rabbi say, I wish it would be a joke. Unfortunately, it's not. What's that pshat Kol dich fin Yeseh v'yeichel? And we all say it. In all the Medinas. Even the time we didn't make it say that Kol dich fin Yeseh v'yeichel. They said. So I once said it here. Maybe it's Emes. Maybe it's Emes. Chomoire, after hearing so many times the shir today from Rav Smith, Emes, I got scared a little bit. But maybe we are talking to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Miratzev Rebbeinu Shalom. Sagen wir Rebbeinu Shalom. Kein Gas. Rebbeinu Shalom steht doch there's a shtickle of the Zoya that we all say, but they say the night that the Malachim come. Tell me, is there anybody in the street? Is there anybody in the street? Where are they? You know why? Because we took care of them before Pesach. We are talking to Rebbeinu Shalom, we're not talking to the Chaz v'Sholom. If it will be in a massive that Yidden and Nebuch, it will be a kitto to Klal Yisrael, if they'll be in the streets, they don't know what to do to the Seder. Terah says, Baruch Hashem, we took care of them. And I'll be Messiah with the Sipur cotton. I lived after the Chasana in a town called Williamsburg. I don't know if you know Williamsburg. Dort noch wird gewohnt. Dort nicht gewähnt Yeshiva Tova Das. Sie gewähnt. And I lived. I'm not embarrassed to say, I'm old people are embarrassed to say that ich habe nicht gehabt in Geld. Heinz schimpft mir Sachen. Ich habe nicht gehabt in Geld. And I lived in a basement apartment. Suddenly I hear a clap by the window, and I run out and I see they ran away. They left packages. It happened to me. From Tomche Shabbos or whatever the name is, packages, mamish, Kiyad HaMelech. I was so embarrassed. And she, my advice, what, did you tell someone Mohammed was it Chaz v'Sholom for Pesach? It's such a bushe. No, der Klal in Stieb, also geht nicht zu sagen, ist doch der alles der Mannsschild. No, ich weiß nicht, was steht sich da. 15 minutes later, I tell you a master shahoya, I get a phone call. And the phone call, when I eat it, I know him, I did, a nugget. We would call him a nugget. Did you get a package from Tomche Shabbos? I said, yes. I have to admit, I sent it to you. You know why? Ich hab nicht auf Pesach. Aber ich habe schon, people don't know. Als ich hab nicht von Pesach, ist mein ganzes Geschäft fertig. I took you for a term, es müssen Neuchle sein. Am Maße Shehoya, ich bete Mechile, und I your wife on Mechile, hab nicht auf Pesach. Himich im Shemhain bei Nacht, genommen den Pekel. So my wife said, to take away the bushe from my Yid is wert. To be Messiah Mechitove, maybe 5 Jahre später, derselbe Zwan, kommt rein der Yid und geht mit $10,000. Baruch Hashem, heint hab ich schon. Heint hab ich schon. Aber sie da jeden was haben nicht, geht sie der Tomche Shabbos und da hast du dann $10,000. Aber ich sage, Der erste Meise ist noch ein was jetzt. Der Heilige Samen wird sein, sie noch da heint jeden, sie da heint jeden, was am nicht Pesach. How can the Bible, I know, mit Teltach so viel, aber sie da, people that embarrassed to take. So bete ich hat Teuwe, der was kennt, sagt mich Stadtl sein, jetzt, jeden Jahr macht mir da Appeal, so da ist Schuss für dem Smedrisch, und jeder Renner soll probieren, sagt mich Stadtl sein, wie viel, mit dem Schuss, et sein, also sich das eigentlich schon zu Usim, you know why, sie steht ins Form, als a Rov soll lernen alle Haloches, weil jeder Haloche will, aber soll ihr lernen. Und wenn wir lernen die Haloche, tumpischen nicht zu, sie alle zu Usim, und strafst mit, uns Mäuse gewähnen mit alle zu Usim, und der ewige Helfer soll solche sein, wenn Neuchel schon in das Wochen, und bin abzusagen.
Ja, Rabbi Yakov ruft sich an warm. Help out at Mishpacha, $500 for one Mishpacha, at least $100, the credit card machine, whatever you can do. Schutz of Kimpa the Pissim, Sidim Shal Chakosh V'Samech, as you can't have Smith for today's year. Smith will give a seekum of today's year in 5 minutes. Also, there'll be a share 1 o'clock from Sholshim and Deutsch from a Living Torah Museum. Very interesting things covered Pesach. Gedaan je met elkaar schimmen, dat zeggen dus boven de zaak is, zo figuur hebben om te moeten nemen, alleen nog af is de man zit, ja, ik doe het weer jader.
case after case.
Notice I said
Sheker partial.
That's what he said. In the Shir we said that. She wants to be. Now the hard part is to remember all this. It's so complicated. It's so complicated.
Don't say
Okay, Rabbi Side, the MS is that this is not a mistake. Rav Smith is saying the Sikkim now today should just take 5 minutes. Shh.
You could leave. Who wants to leave? Ready? Okay, just a short summary you learned today. It's good to be focused, and a lot of mistakes can happen. If you're focused, if you're into the davening, this doesn't happen. But basically, there are three categories. There's the Haskara. You missed the Haskara, which all agree in that Yaitza. Partial Haskara that we saw basically use the Yaitza unless it's a rare case, and someone said something that was untrue. A Sheker is questionable if he was Yaitza. If you missed Yalav Yavai on Yom Tov or on Chalamoyed, any tefillah, you have to go back. Even if a suffix, you have to go back. On a weekday, Shabbos, you said a weekday Shemini Esrei on Shabbos or Yom Tov, you're Yaitza. If you said Yalav Yavai, because it's not a wrong Shemini Esrei. It's an unrequired Shemini Esrei, but it's not wrong. You started Ata on Shabbos, and you thought it was weekdays, like Mr. Bura, then you continue Ata Chaynin. On Yom Tov, you started Ata is better. No matter what you thought, you can say Ata v'chartanu, because the Atas lead into the right Shemini Esrei. If you started the wrong Shemini Esrei, don't finish the bracha, stop. You started, let's say, Shabbos on Yom Tov, stop. It's only Ata Chaynin you continue because it's not wrong. If you said Shabbos instead of Yom Tov, or vice versa, you have two problems, the Haskara and the Sheker. If you left out part of the Chasima, B'di'evet, you would be Yaitza. If you left out part of the Psicha, also you're Yaitza. If on Shabbos and Yalav Yavai, on a Shabbos Yom Tiv, you would be Yaitza because you had the Shabbos and you had the Askar and Yalav Yavai. On a regular Yom Tiv, Sunday Yom Tiv, you said Shabbos Shechal B'Yom Tiv, you have Sheker and you're not Yaitza. If you missed Yalav Yavai in any Yom Tefillah except Rosh Hashanah by day, you would Zichah B'Yaitza because you had the Askara. Rosh Hashanah by day is a suffix, maybe Alt Rosh Chodesh. If you only said Mekadosh Yisrael, you were not Yaitza. We had a suffix, we're not sure, maybe we have a few reasons, but why we say V'Hazmanim and not Chag HaMatzos, Chag HaSukkos. I would love to hear more about that. Rosh Hashanah, if you said Mekadosh Yisrael V'Hazmanim, you're not Yaitza. A suffix Ben Eretz Yisrael on the second day Yom Tov, this year Sunday, Pesach, and he has a suffix what to do, should daven a Choyol Shemini Esrei and add Yalav Yavai. If you daven Musaf first, so you Yaitza Musaf, you have to daven Shachris. If you said a second Shachris, in other words, you said a Shachris instead of Musaf, if it's late enough, use that for Mincha, and then daven a Musaf. Yom Tov, Shechal b'Shabbos, you left out Shabbos, or you left out Yom Tov, either one, you're not Yaitza, because you're missing an Askara. If you daven the first one Yom Tov, the second one Shabbos, the Paiskim and Machriya, it's 2 halves, not 2 zeros, 2 halves that add up to a whole. Kiddush on Yom Tov Shechal b'Shabbos, you only mention Yom Tov or Shabbos, you're not Yaitza, you don't repeat the Shechianu, because Shechianu is separate. You left out the chesima on one of the chesimas on Yom Tov Shechal b'Shabbos, b'diavad, we saw, you could be saimach that you were Yaitza. A Yom Tov Shechal b'Shabbos, you daven the regular Shabbos with Yala v'Yavoy, Yesh lahakol, we saw the Paiskim Amekel. If you said the wrong carbon, or you left out the Karbonis in Gansen, you're Yaitzer. Moshe's Chiddush, if you only said Yom Tov carbon and not Shabbos, or vice versa, that could be worse. Chol HaMoed, Monday Chol HaMoed, you daven Shachris Yom Tov instead of weekday, you have to repeat the Shmei Nesra, not because it's Sheker, not because you lacked Haskara, but because you're missing 13 brachas. Shabbos Chol HaMoed, you daven as if it's Yom Tov Shabbos, then you could be Yaitze b'diavad. If you said the wrong Yom Tov, you said Chag HaMatzos instead of Chag HaSukkos, that's Sheker, and also you're missing Haskara. If you said Chag HaMatzos, Zaman, Matan Teresenu, b'diavad, it's not Mekalkal the bracha. If you made a mistake, you said Mekadesh HaShabbos, go back and say Mekadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. Sukkos instead of Shmini Atzeres, b'diavad is fine. If you have a suffix, what you said, usually we say you said what you're supposed to say. There's no regilus one way or the other. I forgot to mention, on Rosh Chodesh Iyar or Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, you think you might have said Pesach or Sukkot instead of Rosh Chodesh, you don't have to repeat, because there's no regilus in 8 days of Pesach, because you've had so much in between. A suffix, what you said, you could be makel, unless it's a suffix if you said Yalav V'Yavai or not. If you forgot Yalav V'Yavai, you have to repeat. You can't add it any place in the end of the bracha. You can't listen to Me'ain Sheva if you missed the Yom Tiv. You could only listen to Me'ain Sheva if you missed Shabbos, and then you could combine 2 halves. A Shatz that made a mistake in Lachach does not repeat, he just says the Chazara. Women, if they didn't daven the first time properly, could daven a second time. It's not a brachal of Atola, even though they're not mechuyev necessarily in Musaf, but if they want to daven again, they daven the wrong Musaf, they could daven a second time. If you skip Nishmas, don't go weiter, make sure you say it sometime. The wrong bracha d'Haftara, then you have to repeat it. V'atoidienu, it's a shayla if you say it at the end of the bracha. And the Shechayanu on Shvi Shel Pesach, or a Leishev on Shmini Atzeres, but the Eved is not a hefsik, and you're allowed to drink the wine without a bracha. Okay. Right.